Welcome to the History and Portrait channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos like this one. Tennessee State Capitol Building in Nashville. The Tennessee State Capitol Building in Nashville had a surprising role during the Civil War. Initially unfortified, the Union Army took control of Nashville and fortified the Capitol itself, nicknaming it Fort Andrew Johnson. They used it for housing troops, setting up offices, and even holding court-martials. After the war, the building was repaired and continues to serve as a key Tennessee government building. Rebel prisoners waiting at Belle Plaine, Virginia. A grim picture emerges: Belle Plaine, Virginia during the Civil War. A large group of weary, possibly injured Confederate soldiers wait anxiously. Prisoners of war, they await transport likely to a prison camp or exchange. The scene captures the human cost of the Civil War, thousands captured and enduring hardship. This location served as a staging area for the Union Army, and the photograph offers a window into Civil War prisoner management. Union prisoners draw their rations in Andersonville Prison. Here's a photo depicting Union prisoners drawing their rations at Andersonville Prison, Georgia. The image shows a group of gaunt prisoners lined up to receive their meager rations from a Confederate soldier standing behind a wooden counter. In the background, you can see the crowded and desolate prison enclosure. This photo offers a glimpse into the harsh realities faced by Union prisoners of war at Andersonville. Overcrowding, disease, and malnutrition were rampant, leading to the deaths of nearly 13,000 prisoners. Inflation of the Intrepid. Inflating the Union's Intrepid balloon was no easy feat. It involved setting up a hydrogen gas generator, carefully filling the balloon's envelope for hours, and attaching a well-equipped basket. Throughout, meticulous attention was paid to both achieving the perfect launch altitude and maintaining safety due to the flammable hydrogen gas. This inflation process was essential for the Intrepid to serve its purpose of Civil War battlefield observation and execution in Washington, District of Columbia. That was the execution of Henry Wirz, the only Confederate officer to be hanged for war crimes during the Civil War. He was the commander of Andersonville Prison in Georgia, a camp known for its horrific conditions that led to the deaths of thousands of Union soldiers. Wirz was arrested after the war and put on trial for conspiracy and murder. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. He was hanged on November 10, 1865, in Washington, D.C., the shattered muzzle of a 300-pounder Parrott rifle. The shattered muzzle of a 300-pound Parrott rifle is a chilling symbol of the dangers faced by Civil War artillerists. These powerful cannons were prone to breaking apart despite their destructive capabilities. A famous photo shows a Union soldier standing next to a broken Parrott rifle on Morris Island, South Carolina, during the Siege of Charleston. The brittleness of the iron, premature explosions, and overheating all contributed to these potentially deadly malfunctions. A captured Confederate encampment near Petersburg, Virginia. There is a famous photograph from June 1864 by photographer Timothy H. O'Sullivan, capturing a captured Confederate encampment near Petersburg, Virginia. The image offers a glimpse into the living conditions of Confederate soldiers during the Siege of Petersburg, which lasted from June 1864 to April 1865. The photograph shows the ramshackle shelters built by the Confederates, along with scattered personal items and cooking utensils. It serves as a stark reminder of the hardships endured by soldiers on both sides of the Civil War. The 150th Pennsylvania Infantry Camp on Belle Plaine, Virginia. The 150th Pennsylvania Infantry Regiment camped at Belle Plaine, Virginia in early 1863. There is a famous photograph from the Library of Congress that captures their camp scene. The image shows rows of tents set up in a field, with soldiers engaged in various activities. Belle Plaine served as a key supply point and staging area for the Union Army of the Potomac during the American Civil War. The 150th Pennsylvania likely camped there in preparation for the upcoming Battle of Chancellorsville, which took place in May 1863. Fort Sumter, South Carolina, April 1861, under the Confederate flag. Following the bombardment by Confederate forces on April 12, 1861, and the surrender of Major Robert Anderson and his Union troops on the 13th, the Confederate flag flew over Fort Sumter for the first time on April 15, 1861. This event marked the beginning of the American Civil War. A March 1863 photo of the USS Essex. Unfortunately, there aren't any known photographs of the USS Essex specifically dated to March 1863. However, there is a well-known photograph of the USS Essex believed to be taken around that time period, possibly in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The image is from the Library of Congress and captures the ironclad gunboat during the American Civil War. While the exact date of the photograph remains uncertain, it offers a valuable depiction of the USS Essex during its service on the Mississippi River, Yorktown, Virginia, embarkation for White House Landing, Virginia. The embarkation for White House Landing, Yorktown, Virginia, refers to a specific moment in the American Civil War. It describes the movement of Union troops and supplies from Yorktown to White House Landing, Virginia in May 1862. This movement was part of the Peninsula Campaign, where Union forces under General George McClellan aimed to capture Richmond, the Confederate capital. A scene in Alexandria, August of 1863. Alexandria, Virginia in August 1863 would be a city caught between war and recovery. Imagine bustling streets filled with Union soldiers, both wounded and healthy. Carriages and carts navigate the crowds as citizens attempt normalcy amidst the chaos. Military camps and hospitals dot the landscape, a constant reminder of the ongoing Civil War. Buildings bear the scars of battle, but there's also evidence of reconstruction efforts underway. Uncertainty hangs in the air, but the city pushes forward. A view of Andersonville Prison. Andersonville Prison, also known as Camp Sumter, was a Confederate prisoner of war camp during the American Civil War. Here's a view of the prison. The prison was built in 1864 to house Union soldiers captured by the Confederacy. Conditions at the prison were horrific, with overcrowding, disease, and malnutrition leading to the deaths of nearly 13,000 prisoners. Allan Pinkerton on horseback during the Battle of Antietam. Allan Pinkerton, though not a military officer, did participate in the Civil War as head of the Union Intelligence Service, then known as the Secret Service. There is a famous photograph of Pinkerton on horseback during the Battle of Antietam. While some accounts say he was directly involved in the battle, most historians believe he was likely gathering intelligence or coordinating messages between Union commanders. A view of Washington, District of Columbia. Standing at the corner of 3rd and Indiana Avenue in Washington, D.C., offers different views depending on direction. North, commercial buildings. South, partially obscured Capitol building. East, residential and office buildings. West, a peek at the National Mall and Washington Monument. Interestingly, a Civil War-era photo from this very intersection exists. It shows Trinity Church still standing today and the U.S. Capitol building under construction. Stacked cannonballs. The existence of large public displays of stacked cannonballs in Washington, D.C. during the Civil War is unclear. While the heavily fortified city certainly had stockpiles of cannonballs, these were likely kept in secure military locations like arsenals for strategic reasons, not openly displayed. Historical photographs haven't documented such public displays in Washington, but there are images from other Civil War-era arsenals that might provide a general idea. Dead horses surround the damaged Trossel House. Taken shortly after the brutal Battle of Gettysburg in 1863, it depicts the Trossel House farmhouse. Bullet holes scar the two-story structure, a grim reminder of the battle's intensity. In the foreground, numerous dead horses lie scattered, some very close to the house. Their presence points to the location of an artillery unit, as horses were essential for pulling cannons. Fortifications at Yorktown, Virginia. Nearly a century later, during the American Civil War, Yorktown once again became a strategic location. Confederate forces under General John Magruder took advantage of some of the existing Revolutionary War fortifications, incorporating them into a new defensive line known as the Warwick Line. This line stretched from Yorktown on the York River to Mulberry Point on the James River. The Confederates also constructed new earthworks and redoubts to strengthen their position. The CSS Stonewall. The CSS Stonewall, a Confederate ironclad ram built in France during the Civil War, never saw combat for the South. Completed in 1865 as the war ended, it was sold to avoid capture by the Union, then captured by the Union itself. Renamed USS Stonewall, it never served the U.S. but was later sold to Japan and became their first ironclad warship under the name Kotetsu. Despite its lack of Confederate service, the Stonewall's story reflects wartime intrigue and the Confederacy's struggle to match Union naval power. African Americans prepare cotton. The image depicts a harsh reality: enslaved African Americans preparing cotton on Smith's plantation. They separate cotton fibers by hand, a grueling task before the gin's invention. Though the gin sped up production, it also demanded more enslaved labor. Smith's plantation symbolizes chattel slavery, a horrific system where people were property. This Civil War-era photo reflects a society dependent on forced labor. While the war ended slavery, its initial goal was preserving the Union. Remember, photographs don't show the full picture. Plantation life likely meant long hours, scarce breaks, and brutal punishments. This image is a stark reminder of the human cost of a system built on exploitation. Wounded soldiers at rest near Marye's Heights. The image depicts a group of Union soldiers resting under large trees near Marye's Heights, Fredericksburg. Some soldiers sit on the ground, while others lie on makeshift beds of leaves and branches. Medical personnel are also visible in the photograph, tending to the wounded. Photograph of wounded soldiers resting near Marye's Heights after the Battle of Spotsylvania